My name is Sabrina. I'm one of the co-directors for this year's monologues. I want to thank you guys. Thank you. I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Along with yourselves, so many people from our campus and community have made tonight possible. Please take a moment, look through your programs, look through that list of people that have contributed time, donated services, given so much to this. We really appreciate them, and we really appreciate you for what you've done tonight. Michiana Monologues, for those of you who are first-timers, and for those of you that need the reminder course, was inspired by Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologues, the Tony Award-winning play. It brought together stories that people hadn't heard before, and so we became inspired by that, and we decided to provide our community with stories from our community. And so we thank the people that were fearless, courageous, amazing enough to provide, to donate their time, their stories. And then we also have to say thank you to these wonderful people who are willing to take the time who also have the courage, the audacity, the amazing talent to be able to give these stories to you tonight and to do the favor of the people who were kind enough to donate their time and their stories. We do want to remind you and stress to you that these stories are true stories. These stories come from our community, which means that the women that are telling them here tonight these are not their stories. They were donated, like I said. But we also want to remind you that with the fact that these were anonymously donated stories, the person that wrote this story could be somebody that is somebody you passed in the grocery store earlier today. It could be somebody you sat across from at a restaurant. It could be your doctor, your child's teacher. It could be any number of people. It could be somebody you're sitting next to tonight. So please take that in mind, show the respect that these wonderful authors deserve for having the courage, again, to bring this forward. Tonight, we want to remind you of a couple of things. We want to remind you to please silence your cell phones. Also, there's no photography and no recording during the production aside from the people that we've brought in to do that for us tonight. If you hear anything in a story tonight that moves you in one way or another, if you find that it speaks to you in a way that brings up emotions or feelings and you need to speak to somebody, we want to let you know that we do have an SOS advocate here tonight that would be happy to speak with you during the production, the first act, intermission, after the show, anytime that you need it. She's in the back and she's wearing a blue bandana on her arm. Let's see here. Oh yeah, one of the other big important things. I'm sure as you came in, you saw the silent auction table. The silent auction table is another way that we're able to raise money for our list of beneficiaries, which you can also find in your programs tonight. When you have time during intermission, go out there, bid often, bid high. All of the proceeds go back into our community to help make healthy families, healthy people, to end violence, and boy, we could do more with that, couldn't we? That's about it for my shtick. I'd like to say thank you again for being here, and then I want to say please give a warm round of applause for your cast of the 2013 Michiana Monologues.
Because I said so. That's what my mother used to say to me. And that was that. Or was it? You see, I didn't know that expressions and idioms come in layers. Because I said so can mean so many different things. Because I said so meant because I am the boss of you. Because I said so started to mean because I'm too tired to give you any kind of explanation. But then, because I said so, grew to mean because I want you to make good choices, but I'm afraid you won't, so I will make them for you. After a while, my mom stopped using that expression so much. She put it down and walked away from it. But it seemed so forlorn, lying there, unused. So I picked it up for my own inner monologue, and I started saying, because I said so, not because I really meant it, but more because I really didn't know what else to say. Because I said so started to mean because I don't have a better option. Because I said so grew to mean because I don't think I'm a better option. And so I started to agree to things that made me silently scream inside. But because I had said so, I felt obligated, committed, stuck, trapped. And life went on for a long time like that. A long time, because I said so. And then one day I realized that just because I said so, I could have a completely different experience. I could say yes, and no, and I'll have to think about that for a while. And then I did. I said yes, and no, and I'll think about that. I said, I don't think that's right for me any longer. I said, I'd really like to go in this direction. I said, thank you, but this is a better option for me. I am a better option for me. I said, this is the life I want. And then one day, after saying that aloud enough times, I started living the life I had imagined, had worked for, and waited so long to live. Just because I said so.
I would really like to pee in private. Sometime soon. Never fails. Always get interrupted when I'm in the bathroom. Whether it be finally peeing after being at work for 10 hours, then getting the kids ready for bed, or even just brushing my teeth or taking a bath. Seriously, always interrupted. It's usually the eldest with, Mom, I forgot to brush my teeth. Or, Mom, I need 48 cupcakes for school tomorrow. It's 10 p.m. Or, I accidentally got into poison ivy and my face is swollen shut. Yeah, most of the emergencies in my house seem to happen only when I have a few blissful moments to myself. I know, lock the door. Did once. The monkey pounded on it and yelled like she was on fire. I hopped out of the shower, dripping wet, soap in my eyes, to see her standing there with the dog in her arms, wanting to give him a bath immediately. 'Cause he smelled. The baby plays along too. She could be knocked out for a nap and will always wake if she hears the bathroom door shut. I have turned into a world record peer. In and out in less than a minute, before either monkey gets a chance to squeal. I relish a good long pee. Had a great one last week, when the kids were knocked out. Just sat there for about 10 minutes. I was loving the fact that there were no interruptions, and was shocked back to reality when the damn cat hopped on my lap. And he looked at me with those big eyes that said, hey, no chance in hell, lady. I'm staying right here till you give me some lovin'. I wonder if cats make good toilet paper.
I start humming as soon as I walk into the restroom. Yep, humming, like... Who knows what people think of it? Maybe they think I'm happy, or bored, or maybe they don't think anything at all. I personally find it oppressive. What is worse, though, are the constant stares and the constant looks of confusion. Because when most people see me, they assume that I am a man. I hum in the restroom so they can hear my high-pitched voice. Maybe it reduces some of the confusion. I don't know. Once, I was in the restroom washing my hands when a woman came in, took one look at me, and immediately got the most horrified look on her face. "Oh, I'm sorry, I must be in the wrong room," she said. I said, "No, you're not. Don't be ridiculous." And I walked out, disgusted. I have a friend who lives in San Francisco. She has the same experiences in restrooms. It was great to trade stories with her. Once she had a woman tell her, "I think you are in the wrong room." My friend said, "I think you are in San Francisco." Here in Michiana, it is a little different. There just aren't as many people who choose to present as a butch. I get called sir everywhere I go. I know it is a teachable moment, but really, how many times can you have the same conversation and stay patient? Claiming my identity as a butch woman has been one of the most empowering experiences of my life. It is the single most radical political act I can think of. It is also fraught with tension. You see, I know that in the right place and time in this country, I can literally be beaten to death for how I look. Men are generally appalled when they figure out I am a woman, and they can get nasty. You know, I expect that. I have to be careful around them, always. But with women, I don't want to have to be careful. I shouldn't have to be careful. I just like to use the restroom. I don't really want to feel the need to hum. But if it makes you feel better,
I'm happy and fat. I should not be happy. Our society tells me I must be thin to be happy, thin to be fit, thin to find love, thin to enjoy sex, thin to have healthy children, thin to enjoy shopping, thin to enjoy eating. An average-sized teenager, I thought I was fat, and I wasn't happy with my body. In college, I actually became fat, and I was even more unhappy with my body. I thought being fat would keep me from enjoying life. I would never be able to dance with freedom. I would never travel, have wild adventures, meet my Prince Charming, and live a full, happy life. Dieting was the answer. I just had to find the right one. Planning, reading, counting, weighing, measuring, craving, denying, longing, but I was thinner. I could be happy now. Hard to be happy, though, when preoccupied with food, weight, inches, counting. Slowly, I stepped away from the diet. Slowly, the weight came back. There, my body said, that's better. And here's just a few extra pounds just in case you get any ideas. I was not happy. Somehow, though, I lived fully. I traveled, I partied, I kissed, I loved, and was loved. And then one day, a plus sign. This fat body that I hated got pregnant easily, just when I wanted it to. Now this fat body grew, stretched, nourished, protected, labored, pushed, stuck. Fat body poked, lifted, wheeled, rolled, cut, pulled, pushed a baby girl. Baby girl sleeping on this fat body, fed with these pendulous breasts, carried by these bulky arms. I don't hate this body anymore. This body nurses, kisses, tickles, crawls, slides, swings, bikes, swims in a swimsuit. Today, I am unabashedly happy while fat, and I'm happy for the women and mothers like me, happy for the teen girls who wonder, happy for my daughter, happy for me.
Long before I knew the word feminism, long before I understood that the personal is political, I had fallen hard for the sheer awesomeness of the lives of girls. Growing up in our just-built neighborhood, sparse in trees but rich in kids, I had plenty of real-life friends. And I had an older sister who didn't mind playing Barbies in school with me. But I learned the most about girls, and so about human nature, while slumped against the radiator in my hot pink bedroom, reading and rereading illustrated paperback books. In the 1970s, the second wave of feminism ushered in a fresh interest in women's history. This bloomed into a publication of dozens of book series about girls' lives that populated my head through grammar school and beyond. These books went far beyond Nancy Drew. How many of you knew Nancy Drew? Maybe some of you identified more with George, her boyish friend like me. Oh, Nancy, your yawningly perfect life and rich father, your own car, no mom to boss you around, and a tidy little mysteries about clocks and lockets. Who cares? No, the literary girls who fired my imagination are probably the ones you like, too. The vibrant, imperfect Ingalls sisters of the Little House series, who taught me that even heroines have moments of greedy ugliness. Remember Laura loading her pockets with shiny pebbles until her dress tore? I learned that even great girls might act out jealousy and generosity in equal measure. The Little House series taught me that boys and men are just as tender at the core as girls, and that eating well and finding friends to sing loudly with are the stuff that makes life worth living. From the All of a Kind Family series by Sidney Taylor, I learned about Jewish life in New York City a century ago. Those stories, fragrant with soup and set to a Lower East immigrant side soundtrack, were both fascinatingly different from my track-home latchkey childhood, and yet animated by the same spirit of imagination and delight. The five sisters in that series, especially Ella and Hetty, helped me reflect on sisterly competition and the human desire to do good in the world, despite of selfish impulses. I may not have had powerful female presidents to look up to, but I knew in part from these books that these girls were powerful, ethical, complex, and deeply intellectual. Those books made me feel lucky to be a girl, even if the world told me otherwise. The list of my literary sisters would stretch your patience. Caddy Woodlawn, whose pre-Katniss heroism is a wild joy until the plot tucks her back in the home sphere at the end. There's the Maud Hart Loveless series about Betsy, Tacy, and Tib, whose friendships brought to life the years before World War I, shifting from high-button boots to women's emancipation, well before anyone thought up Downton Abbey. Romances with turn-of-the-century chaps were part of these books, sure, but the heart of the series were the young women themselves, their complex interiors, their ability to laugh at their own foibles, and their deep sense of justice that allowed them to speak up, intervene, and show absolutely that girls and women mattered. In those days, before Hermione, before Kiki and Katniss, those paperback girls gave me hope that the world would value my gnarled, hopeful, deep-feeling, complicated self. Not in spite of the fact that I was a girl, but because of it.
You're not that kind of woman. I sat there, stunned. Had she really just said that? Not that kind of woman? Was there some way that she could tell? Could she, who had never before met me, who had no copy of my medical history, who had no intake from revealing my past, no idea who I was, really know that I had slept with only one man? That we had waited until our wedding night? That we had lived a life of celibacy followed by monogamy? Not that kind of woman? Not what kind of woman? Not the kind of woman whose husband cheated on her? Or not the kind of woman whose partner had lied about sleeping with others before? Not the kind of woman who experienced one unsafe encounter early in youth? Not the kind of woman who was raped? Not the kind of woman who enjoyed sex? Not the kind of woman who wanted to be able to talk with her doctor about her health without being judged? Not what kind of woman? Not a woman like the many smart, incredible, sexually active women I know who may or may not be living with an STD. Not a woman who deserves a doctor who'll talk openly with her about her experiences and her health. Not one of the 19 million people in our country each year who contracts an STD. Not that kind of woman. Not the kind who would be insulted. Not the kind who would be concerned. Not the kind who would hear condemnation masked as praise. Not what kind of woman? I'm not sure. But I know that you are not that kind of woman that I can trust with my story. The kind of doctor that I can trust with my health. The kind of doctor that every woman deserves.
No. I shake my head, crying into the phone. The doctor on the other end is shocked. Oh, this is good news. It's a blessing. No. Tears fall into my cheek, all over my calendar, smearing the ink. Okay, well, we still need you to come back in for some blood work, says the confused doctor. I'm quiet and I say nothing. The doctor, bewildered, speaks again. Well, start taking your prenatal vitamins. I guess we'll see you on Friday for some blood work. I hang up the phone, and two of my coworkers, my friends, stand timidly at the door. I'm pregnant, I say, and they collectively look at each other and smile and reach in for a hug, and all in a span of a second. I call my husband, and through tears, I tell him that the doctor says that I'm pregnant, and I need him at the office right now. I have a presentation in an hour. When he arrives, he blushes and smiles at my friends. I collapse into his arms, still crying, and lead him into my office and shut the door. I start stumbling over my words, telling him I have options. I know this clinic downtown. I just have to find the name and the number. I'm not that far along. He looks scared. I say, I know this is going to be hard, but not as hard as having a kid. We don't want kids, remember? We've talked about this. All at once, he becomes spiritual. No, honey, this is meant to be. This is supposed to happen. You're just scared. We can do this. I don't want to do this. This isn't my plan. I start crying, even harder. I don't want kids. I see the concern in his face. I just stop talking altogether. I cry harder. He wants this. He's happy about this. And in my head, I realized when he walked through the office door a few minutes before, he was smiling I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I stayed pregnant and had the baby, and another 2 years had another one. Nearly 9 years after that initial phone call from the doctor, I feel conflicted about the decision I made that day. Hey, I love my kids, but it wasn't immediate. I grew to love them. And I struggle with resentment every single day towards them and towards my husband for wanting them more than I did. I hated myself for not wanting them. And I try to talk to other mothers. There are so few who are actually honest about their own bitterness in mothering. I feel the loss of myself every single day, and I fight it. I made the choice to have them, and I want to keep the sense of myself and still mother well. I want to keep my marriage strong and still mother well. I didn't want to be a mother, but now that I am, I want to do it well. I want to do it all, and I won't give that up.
Tension fills the room. Father, in a year and a half, my eyes have seen a lifetime of hate, fear, and violence. You ignore my screams as mother struggles to reach me. Quit babying him, you yell. He will never learn to be a man with a mother like you. My security blanket has been replaced with a blanket of fear. She tries so hard to comfort me, shielding us both from our fears. I have watched you rip my mother's smiles from her face. You drown her in your fist of madness as I watch her suffer as you throw her against the wall. You will stop at absolutely nothing until you are satisfied. I'm slowly watching my mother die as I learn about hate. Freedom, I hear my mother say. One day, we will be free from this life of ours, and one day, we'll be safe. She reassures me while holding me and rocking back and forth. When I awaken, I am somewhere new, somewhere dark with shadows from a dim light. My mother is sitting in an empty room with nothing but some of my toys and some clothes. I'm confused. Mother pulls me close, placing both of her hands on my cheeks. With weary strength in her eyes, she gives me a weak smile and says, "It's over. It has been 2 years since I've seen my father."
Is it wrong for me to hate Take Back the Night? I love the concept. The idea that by telling our stories, we all feel like a community of survivors. But I hate the anger that comes with it. And I've never said anything because my story seems very inadequate. When people start throwing around terms like legitimate rape, I have similar feelings. I wasn't raped. That's true. I was sexually assaulted. But I struggle with feeling that it's a legitimate label for me. I feel like sexual assault should have degrees, like murder does. Premeditated. Holding a knife to the throat while feeling someone up. That's sexual assault 1. And what I had was an ex-boyfriend who wanted to be more than, for lack of a better term, he made out with me while I was sleeping. I was aware enough to realize what was happening. Soft and gentle, because he missed me. And I could have pushed him off and told him no, but I didn't. That should be sexual assault, I don't know, 13? He shouldn't have done it. And he knew what he was doing. So You see what I mean about legitimacy? How do I tell that story in front of a bunch of angry survivors of sexual assault 1 and rape? It makes me feel weak and stupid. I haven't even told my family the whole story yet. My partner, my sister, and my mother are all aware that I was sexually assaulted, but I haven't told them any details. Only my partner knows the most, because I told him who did it. And I've only made, vague references to the timing and context. I particularly get annoyed at myself when I think of what I would say if I were hearing this story from someone else. Did you report it? No. You should report it. I'd rather not. Why? You know the statistics. How many of these go unreported? Which means a quarter of these statistics are completely tainted. I'd rather not, though. I've moved on. I have no intentions of pressing charges, and I wouldn't even know how to begin the process of reporting it. I'd rather just let it lie. God, I would drive myself nuts if I had to be in an office with me. There's a mantra in my house. If someone asks if you made plans or you've taken the dog for a walk or anything else you should do, you respond with, "Not yet." See, it gives you room to grow. And it reminds you to be open to that growth. So, if you ask me whether or not I have spoken at Take Back the Night, or if I have reported my sexual assault, I think I'll just stick with not yet.
To all of you mothers and fathers of those easy babies I keep hearing about, I hate you. I hate watching you ooh and ah over your precious cooing newborn. I hate listening to you talk about the adorable nicknames you give your child and how wonderful life has become. I hate knowing that she actually goes to sleep when you lay her down, drowsy but awake for a nap. But you know what I really hate? I really hate that you can love her without trying. In my world, motherhood isn't beautiful. It's not sentimental or sweet. It encompasses the very worst moments of my life, the ugliest pieces of my soul. Motherhood is my prison. I wake up to the piercing sound of an infant's scream. It shoots through my brain like an arrow, and I hate him. There's nothing I can do to make him sleep, to stop the cries. I have tried everything, so please, stop giving me your pathetic advice. I have tried the schedule, a pacifier, rocking him, singing to him. I've tried the gas drops and pain relievers. I've taken him to his pediatrician, a chiropractor, a holistic health counselor. I've given him probiotics, catnip, and fennel. Yes, these are supposed to help. Nursing him doesn't even help. Nothing helps. He just keeps crying. Every day, there comes a point when I can't take it anymore, and I walk away. You probably think I'm a horrible mother. But if I don't walk away from him, I seriously might hurt him. One time, I really let him go. He was on the floor, just a tiny baby, at that age where he could pick his head up and maybe scooch around a little,
but not really mobile. I was done, exhausted from the fight. Tears streaming down my face, hatred for him burning hot inside of me. I broke from him. He was so small and so helpless. His face was contorted at his mouth as he let out scream after shivering scream. His eyes squeezed shut to the horror of whatever internal struggle he was dealing with. I cried as I watched his little body shake with anger. His fists were clenched tight, arms flailing, legs kicking, trying so hard to find comfort. Comfort that I desperately wanted to give him and had tried to give him, but he wouldn't accept. Day after endless day, he takes everything I have. Then just when I think I'm finally empty, I wake up and do it all again. But your life goes on. You can enjoy your baby. You can love your baby. My brain plays tricks on me. My thoughts betray me as I envision him falling from his crib and smacking his head hard on the floor. I could slip and fall while carrying him down the stairs. I could put him in a drawer and close it tight. What if, while cutting up some vegetables, I slipped with the knife and I just stabbed him again and again? Or if I suddenly veered off the road while driving to his next appointment and slammed hard into a tree? These are the pictures in my head. There's no cooing baby. No happy splashing in the bathtub. No picturesque moments as we cuddle together in the morning. In my house, there are only tears, sleeplessness, rage, and a desperate struggle for what is supposed to come naturally, to simply love my baby boy.
When I saw it, I was enraged. I was walking through the hall and stopped to look at the Right to Life group's display board. It was there, spelled out in black and white. Adoption is the easiest choice to make. I was shaking. I was so angry. Who the fuck do they think they are? They sure as hell aren't birth mothers. Or they'd never say something like that. I am a birth mother. And let me tell you something, it was far from the easiest choice to make. I found out I was pregnant, and the last thing I wanted to be was pregnant. I already had 2 children to take care of, and plus I was starting college for the first time. I hadn't the time, the patience, or the inclination to start all over again with diapers and bottles. I thought of abortion, and I honestly considered it. But that wasn't the best choice for me and my situation. I had resigned myself to impending motherhood, and the further along I got, the angrier I got. I was sick constantly. I was losing weight because I couldn't keep anything down. It was hard to function because of the fatigue. I had my other children who were small at the time. I had them to take care of and all my schoolwork. It was at that point I considered adoption. I found an agency online, and the people there were fantastic. They answered all of my questions, sent me information through the mail, and assigned me a caseworker I could call any time. When I told the birth father I was considering adoption, he threatened to fight me on it. Guess what? In Indiana, if the birth father withholds his consent for an adoption, he can stop you from having your baby adopted. Did you know that? I didn't. Tell me again how it's the easiest fucking choice to make. The school year progressed, my pregnancy progressed, and my health went downhill. I was hospitalized for dehydration. I continued to lose weight. My health worsened. The hardest part, though, was explaining to my oldest child how our baby was going to live with another family. He told me, "I don't want our baby to go live with strangers." The family I chose was wonderful, though, and after meeting them, he gave his blessing to share our baby. That would have been fine, except then the preterm labor started. They gave me drugs to stop the labor. Then they gave me a drug to stop the nausea caused by the first drug. Then I went into a seizure because I couldn't tolerate that drug. At one point, they considered restraints. Until I gave birth, I averaged around 2 trips to the hospital a week. I dealt with this for 8 weeks. And when I cried to my doctor that I just couldn't do it anymore, he finally induced me. The epidural made my blood pressure drop, and the postnatal hemorrhaging made it drop even more. So when I left the hospital, my blood pressure was 80/55. Oh, you might think that the birth process was over. With my new son, with his new family, that would be the end of it. Yeah, no. No, for the first few weeks after I had him, I was in a deep depression. I cried all the time. I woke up from nightmares where my son was an adult and he was demanding to know why I didn't love him enough to keep him. He demanded to know why he wasn't good enough. I spent those first few weeks second-guessing my decision, terrified I had made the wrong one. No one tells you that on those pamphlets and display boxes, though. They tell you you'll be emotionally fucked over from abortion, but they don't tell you that you'll be just as fucked over by adoption. And hey, you could even die too. I almost did. No one who tells you that adoption is the easiest choice to make has any clue. And you should feel free to tell them that. I stand by my choice. I did the best thing I could do. I still get to see him. I made my choice in a way he won't have a hole where his history should be, and he still has his older brothers. But if you think any of it was easy, then you really haven't been listening.
Every year, as a high school teacher, I'm bound by the science standards of the State Department of Public Instruction to teach the fundamental ecology of the planet. Lesson plans usually form around Earth Day. My class studies the 3 R's, plus topics like water cycles, pollution, landfills, and global warming. I have never been required by the standards to teach the females of the class how to save our planet by not using mass-marketed, ecologically destructive tampons and pads during their menstrual cycles. In reality, not only are these 2 environmentally unfriendly items an assault on the earth, they are an insult to beautiful female bodies. These synthetic materials are bleached with toxins and then wrapped in layers of plastic, paper, and cardboard. They're stuck into our bodies to ferment, then tossed into landfills to seep into the soil and contaminate the groundwater. There's no lesson at school explaining that women have environmental and vagina-friendly options available during menstruation that are as natural as our monthly flow. The teaching standards don't acknowledge a woman's ability to reclaim the earth by reclaiming the control and comfort of her body, by choosing reusable and recyclable pads, sponges, and keepers. Not one instructor talks about pads made of cotton flannel or terry cloth that can be washed out and worn again. No worksheets are handed out to list the perils of plastic production, with plastic applicators taking 5 centuries to biodegrade. No tests have questions asking if using Glad rags instead of the 12 billion single-use pads and tampons disposed of annually in the world could reduce the garbage in landfills. No research paper is assigned to discuss the landfill legacy women leave by using an average of 16,000 sanitary napkins in their lifetime. There's no classroom talk about the media push for women to feel clean and beautiful by using one brand over another. No videos are available showing the step-by-step insertion of a keeper made of natural gum rubber or a Diva cup of medical-grade silicone to collect the monthly flow and reusable for 10 years with absolutely no waste. No demonstration of sea sponges is performed in a lab to offer the natural alternative to toxic tampons. No grade for Sew Your Own Homemade Sanitary Napkins project ever enters the gradebook. And there is not one mention of it being totally okay to have a discussion about society's outrageous contribution to the destruction of the earth, the pollution of women's bodies, and reclaiming both before it's too late. Female students are trained to quietly endure their periods without protesting against the deep disrespect to the earth and to their vulnerable bodies. I suspect the year I introduce vagina and earth-friendly menstrual materials into my classroom will probably be my final one. The school board will not renew my contract because I did not meet state standards. But if I get dismissed, I'll leave knowing that one class of teenage girls will go into the real world saving money, protecting the environment, loving their bodies, and bitching and moaning as loud as they want about having their period on this good earth.
I was unemployed and getting desperate. The ad in the newspaper seemed interesting. Adult phone operators needed. I called the number and spoke to an older-sounding gentleman who asked if I had any psychic abilities. No. He said the other option was an adult chat line. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He told me I had a nice voice, and he'd be glad to employ me. A few days later, I was an official phone sex operator. A 24-year-old virgin phone sex operator. First, you should know there are rules to being a phone sex operator. You must keep the caller on the line for at least 10 minutes or you will not be paid. This is actually kind of hard to do when a man calls who's already been wanking it for half an hour and just needs a feminine touch to finish. You cannot initiate sexual conversation. The caller has to say something sexual first. This is also hard to do, especially when the caller just grunts and moans in your ear upon answering. Now, the phone calls may be recorded. So here you are talking suggestively to Mr., McDirty Cuss, and every once in a while a little beep would sound, and you know someone's listening in and getting their jollies for free. Well, this is pre-cell phone days. You had the call from your home phone, punch in your code numbers, log on for business. Then the phone sex operator tells you what line you're on. Hardcore, fantasy, wet and wild, etc. Then you sit back and wait for the phone to ring. Problem is, being logged on for business does not block normal, non-horny people from calling you. So you're waiting for a business call, and your dad calls to say hi. Awkward. I was so ready for my first call. I put a bunch of fluffy pillows on the floor. I didn't want to do this from my bed. I mean, I sleep there. Oh, I put on a skimpy lingerie, settled into my pillow nest with my penthouse erotica books and my vibrator, and waited, and waited, and waited. Where were all the callers desirous of carnal pleasure? Finally, the phone rang. I licked my lips. Hello, I said in a sultry tone. My name is Victoria. What's your secret? Yes, that was actually my opening line. I was terrible at it. I figured I could just read those scenarios from my erotica, purr into the phone, and then laugh about all the men whose loins were on fire from my sexual healing. I received quite a few calls from men who wanted me to take it in the ass. I received quite a few calls from giggling 12-year-olds who just wanted me to say boobies and vagina. I received more than one call from senior citizens who stated their Viagra was taking too long to kick in, and could I please get them primed for their future encounters. But my favorite call was from a British man. He had the best accent. He was just bored and wanted to talk to an American woman. Oh, we were there shooting the breeze. He asked if I minded if he lit a fag. After he explained this slang for lighting a smoke, he assured me he wasn't a homophobic murderer. And we continued talking well into the morning. Our conversation only ended because they stopped accepting his credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, intermission.